All right, not quite ready, but welcome to everyone. Happy Tuesday to you. Today's February 18, 2025. It's been quite a week, and we're going to get started with our show very momentarily. I've been trying to work on the audio here. Who knows if I have it under control or not? People complain. People just tend to complain about everything. So there's been complaints about the audio, but there should not be. But there have been. So hopefully it's all working out. Glad to see everyone here. Please hit that like, please. And we'll get started. Let me say hello to everyone here and remind you all to hit the like on your way in. Um, but let's see. We have, Stephanie, Teresa, Judith Galloway, Tony Hunt, Plain Iron. Thank you for the buy me a coffees. Plain Iron. Deputy Dog. We got Trial Junkie, L'Oreal, Don McKenzie, Court of Public Opinion, KFC, L'Oreal, Scales of Injustice, David Rogers, um, Jan Humphrey, Oleg Cat, Dev, Criminal Network, Kaleidohope, Jalen, Kate U, Asha Harry, Tracy Fleetwood, Say What, Possum Friend, Rhonda Holton, and we got the Court of Public Opinion here with a statement that I fully endorse. Nick uses state power to protect the real killers. Who are they hiding? Goal uses the court's state power to protect Nick. No justice for victims or the falsely accused allowed. Not what's any whatsoever. And let me just say, I'm sure many of you are aware that today your insane, unhinged judge uh, blanket denied all the important um, motion to correct error and the motion to strike the state's response. She's going to support this attorney or this prosecutor no matter what. Do not expect anything different from this judge. You should not. But let me say this, she is ensuring that a court superior to hers will address it. So, good enough. It's in the record now. All right. What's up, Melon? And who else we have here? Digital. Okay. Mar R. Judy Hadaway. 43 Goblin. Pam Sheehan. Nicole Watt. Four Pits. Rebecca Ann, 1965. Lawyer's Daughter. Mino Dino. Jenny, 33. Aaron Town. Penny Pona. Estrella. Gretchen Allen. Mudbug. Silenced. J.R. Nana Boomer. Christina's here. Who else is here? Anna Schott. Welcome to you. And okay. Sunflower. Have I caught everyone yet? Heather Brown. What's up, Heather Brown? All right. Yeah, exactly, Mark. At least it's out of her hands now. Oh, Goddess. All right. Dawn Leonard. And Sweet Dude Chibi. All right. I think I've caught everyone. So, to all of you I did not catch because you haven't joined the chat yet, stop being awkward. Stop standing on the wall, being a wallflower, being awkward, being weird, or just being difficult. Join the chat and talk with your friends, your fellow chat members. It'd be nice to do. Sleuthy Goosey. All right. Bree and Debbie Packer. All right. Anyone else? Thank you so much. Now, Housebroken. Welcome, Housebroken. Housebroken says, love being awkward. Well, welcome. Okay. Now, today, well, before we get started, let me just say, hey, Linda K. Johnson. Hey, Linda K. All right. Now, before we get started, let me just say that I hope most of you, I'm sure most of you, because of your interest in this case, saw Mr. Baldwin's interview that occurred last night, and I'm not sure when you may have seen it, but I saw it this morning, and I just wanted to say a couple things about it. First of all, gosh, can it be any more obvious where the problems in this case lie? And I said this to a friend earlier. I said, you know, the funny thing is, if you would take a transcript of that interview and read Andy Baldwin's words, and then if you go back through my past live streams, you would probably find verbatim nearly every sentence that he said. I got to say, it's really good and affirming to hear Mr. Baldwin repeat verbatim the statements that we make on this channel, because it's an interesting thing to put in perspective. See, we're sitting here commenting from the outside as to how things appear to be, and it's just amazing to listen to Mr. Baldwin, who's spent a lifetime practicing law and in and out of the courts in Indiana, come out and say the same things that we see from the outside. They are the same things that he's experiencing from the inside. By that, I mean the abnormality of this case, the absolute combativeness of this prosecutor and judge, the unwillingness to be generally humanly decent, share information, apologize when you've withheld information, all of those points that he made. He was also rather candid about his stance on the Odinist angle, which I found refreshing because it's something that, like I said, verbatim, if you would listen verbatim, the things that he said last night or some of the same things I've verbatim said here. Like, yeah, as far as those Odinist symbols, which we are clear about, okay, there are those type of symbols at the crime scene, both on the tree and on the girls and on the ground over the pool of blood in made with sticks. Um, for him to say, yeah, I'm not sure whether that was what it was or whether it was just them trying to set up some Odinist types. I found that rather refreshing because he has a lot invested in that particular angle. And that's something that the troll farm has been beating him up about, right? Saying, yeah, you said it was Odinist, 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 Odinist. And now you're saying it's Ron Logan. No, that's not what anyone is saying. The only ones saying that are the assholes. And don't make me call them out here, please. But there's some on the defense side, just in case you didn't know. There's some on the defense side, and then there's a troll farm. The only ones saying that they're switching gears are the idiots, okay? Because what's really going on is the stating of the obvious, and that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. And yeah, so knowing that Mr. Baldwin has a lot invested, okay, in the Frank's memorandum and the amount of time and effort invested into that, and the committal that he had towards that, for him to also be willing to say, but hey, it could have been a setup on them, which is same sort of thing that I've said here numerous times. Um, Listen, if you haven't understood yet that this case has tentacles, not saying that Doug Carter ever told you anything true, because they have all lied. That was another thing he pointed out, that they lied. They lied about kicking the FBI off the case. Why would they lie about that? Isn't that odd? Look at the timing of the kicking the FBI off. But then ask yourself, why would they lie about who kicked the FBI off, when it happened, how it happened, the bad faith, or I don't know. It's just been a shit show. But the overall impression that I walked away with was that I think we're on the same page here, and I think that it's pretty affirming to see that the same things we are seeing here from the outside looking in are the same things that they're experiencing from the inside on out, and that is that these people are weird, man. These people are weird. They have deleted so much evidence. Trust me. I mean, he can't say it because he's got to stay in between the lines of ethics with his profession, but I'm telling you now, they have deleted exculpatory evidence. They have hidden individuals from the public and the court and the jury. It's absolutely insane. And and the thing is, I laughed about it because they are getting ratioed out here in the real world. See, out here in the public, they're having to turn off comments off of videos and off of posts. Do you know why? Because people aren't buying the shit anymore. They're not, no one's buying it anymore. They're not buying it. No, because people can look at this and people can clearly see that there is a problem here with this prosecution. There's a problem with this judge, this entire thing, the law enforcement. There is a problem. And the fact that they still have to have their operatives out here running around, pushing the PR narrative, when they've gone ahead and secured their conviction and a sentencing, really is telling. Now, I've titled tonight's show Delphi, the Brady Bunch. And I'm talking about Dickolas McSleeson, okay? They are setting themselves up with a Brady v. Maryland. And the thing is, the thing that I want to hit on tonight, because I know all the good creators have already gone and established this. You know, there's been several live streams in the past few days since this stuff has started to trickle out, where the good creators are going and talking about Brady v. Maryland, and I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to promote anyone else's channel here. I don't like doing that, so please don't do it in the chat. But the good creators have already discussed Brady, okay? What we're going to do tonight is we're going to discuss that, but we're going to put it in a broader context, because something that's missing here that everyone is sort of really glossed over is the fact that it's not just this most recent thing with Ricci Davis that's throwing up red flags from the Brady bunch, as I call them. And that involves Mullen, Kathy Shank, Nick McClellan, Jerry Holman, the entire bunch, Doug Carter. Okay, the Brady bunch, it's the whole of them. But what I'm getting at is it's not just this most recent thing with Ricci Davis. Okay, what you have to really understand is that it's a pattern. Okay, it's a pattern. It's a pattern of the withholding of material, exculpatory, or exonerating evidence. Okay, and that's a bad pattern. And this pattern goes back years. This is not just this month or just this year or just this past year. This goes back to the very beginning. Okay, and that's what we'll be discussing tonight. So that's the theme of our show. So hopefully you're on board for that, because I think it needs to be talked about. This prosecutor is absolutely out of his mind. Okay. And hey, they've gotten away with this shit for years. Okay, this good old boy shit. They've gotten away with this shit for years, which is why they think they can get away with it now. But the problem now is that the entire world and the federal government is watching. So, my opinion, they're screwed, because that shit might have worked all of these years, but it ain't gonna work now. It ain't. It's those days are over, and your days are numbered. So let's get on diving into this. And so what we're going to do is establish some context here. So we'll dive on into try to figure out what we're talking about. Um, all right, let's see. All right, now this is the letter that we recently became aware of, okay, because of Max Lewis. Okay, so hold on a minute. All right, so I'll try to read this. It's not that easy to read. Okay. I know a lot of you, I don't mean to be mean, but a lot of you millennials, you can't even read this whatsoever. you young kids, you young kids don't even know what this is. This is called handwriting, cursive handwriting. It's an old art form that all of us old folks are very well acquainted with. Okay, so we're able to read this, although you are not. Oh, um, so here we go. Now, let me before I start. Okay, let me start by saying you're aware that you're aware that there is supposed to exist a recorded interview of Mr. Ricci Davis regarding this material. Okay, so that's first thing. Okay, there's supposed to exist a recording. That's something Mr. Baldwin discussed last night, and that's something that is being addressed here. So that's where we start. He says this is regarding the missed interview to the Delphi murders. Okay, by Ron Logan at the Indiana Correctional Facility. I am sorry if the additional blocks of my continued effort of being able to speak of this. It has been a rough road of fighting against suspicious behavior of Carroll County, getting ahead reporting that I simply failed a polygraph. To many, that would sound of legitimate reasoning to disregard, and the DA accusing of dishonesty with reckless regard of the truth himself, and knowing my information will cause answers by the community demanded, in addition to integrity within the trust of bringing forward this case toward Richard Allen. Although I am furthest fan of people who commit certain types of crimes, but to agree to allow a sex offender to walk right out of prison on your watch with a promise that if you are elected into office, you would do so. I was told by Ron Logan in advance that Nicholas McClellan told a couple family members of Logan's and Ron Logan himself, quote, if I get elected, I will let Ron out. I don't believe he committed that crime. McClellan was as a longtime family friend and will have his back. I believe Ron was not joking either. Let me pause here. Let me pause. Let me pause and say, I said in one of my last shows, isn't it funny how Ron Logan is the nexus to everyone? It was my show called You Gotta Be Kidding Me with the F and Ron Logan. I said Ron Logan is the nexus to all of these people who I believe hurt these girls, and all the witnesses, and all the protectors, and all the cover uppers. Continuing. When the investigator was sent, see, I am the one treated as I done something wrong. I was who requested to be placed on a polygraph. It was made all about my motive, i.e., media attention. It was not about maybe I'm a man who has kids myself and I felt deeply for the baby girls and families. I was asked to take the important, most significant facts, placing into less than 2 paragraphs of writing them on paper. Seen on the news a couple months ago, I asked, quote, he says, so I asked, quote, if I've been speaking to Ron Logan for months, how can I limit it within sentences? End quote. I was just told to do the best I could. In return, I did. Before I remembered that I was told that I could be charged with perjury and asked if I wrote truthfully. It was ambiguous to ask because was the information Logan said truthful? I did not have such answer, but I knew I was. No one would answer just informed, just do the best I could. All I wanted was to talk like men. I was so upset. I just offered to give me a recording device. And under full observation, they will have a recorded confession by Ron Logan. I was told, nah, Mr. Davis, it's okay. It isn't necessary, really. This cannot be denied by McClellan, as the entire setting was fully recorded by video. It is undisputed facts that can make, of course, he has made effort to silence my genuine efforts. It gets worse. While Richard Allen was about to go on trial, once again, I attempted to notify the 3 who were involved once more. There were facts and evidence to lead them to look, or this one word is a little hard, but he would not speak to me since it related to Logan. Not 1 letter, not 2 or 3, but 7 letters before he convicted an innocent man. I at first believed Richard Allen possibly had his hand in it. However, the same evidence that I reported or previously, he taken the same before the jury, making the case against another man with a straight face. I realized then all I was told by Ron Logan was true after all. And secondly, Richard Allen was not a guilty man after all. This left 2 uncharged men, and now back to 3 uncharged again. McClellan knew this as family communicated that the letters were passed on to McClellan. After Richard Allen's conviction, McClellan got on TV live, receiving his many pats on his back, and told the families of the girls and community, quote, he has not been aware of any other suspects, as that was the first question by the media. I'm not asking to be believed. I'm asking for people to ask questions. Follow the evidence. And let them poor victims have justice, as well as a jury. Settle Richard Allen's jury with all the facts, not distracted by a district attorney covering up cover-ups. This is what McClellan did not want heard. My only question is, McClellan, can you sleep at night? But can you really, though? P.S. Pray for them girls and families. Free the innocent. Seek the guilty. And stand for true justice for all, good and bad. Well, what's interesting there to me is a lot. The term covering up cover ups. That's pretty pertinent, pretty perceptive, as if he knows what he's talking about. Now, what was interesting here, he said McClellan was referred to as a longtime family friend. Like Kathy Shank? Oh, like Garrett Kurtz's father? Like Tony Klein? And on and on and on. Now, listen, you see, these trolls like to conflate the issues and they say, well, he's a racist, he's a felon, he's a prisoner, he's a meth dealer. Yeah. Does any of that make this not true? No. As a matter of fact, if you learn how to listen to what people say, this is actually more compelling. Because listen to the way he ends this and tell me what kind of faker, what kind of liar would say, pray for them girls and families, free the innocent, seek the guilty, and stand for true justice for all, good and bad. What kind of maniac, liar, attention seeker, et cetera, would say that? They wouldn't, because one doesn't think to say that. This is why you got to get right with God so that you can pick up on what people are putting down. Anyhow, um, so let's see. So next we should look. The next thing we should look at is this. Okay. Okay. Now, this says defendants verified motion to preserve and produce specific evidence. Okay. Now we're going to start to tell a story. Okay. We're going to be telling a story. It's going to be going. Okay. On February 12th, 2025, Richard Allen's counsel, Andy Baldwin, met with inmate Ricci Davis at the Newcastle Correctional Facility. During the meeting, Mr. Davis informed Attorney Baldwin the following. Okay. Ricci Davis was in the unique position of having met both Kagan Klein and Ron Logan during their stays at Newcastle Correctional Facility. Ricci Davis talked with Ron Logan about the Delphi murders on multiple occasions. Over the course of time, Logan confessed to his involvement in the murders, allegedly with two other people. During those conversations, Logan provided certain details of the crime that only an actual killer would know, but never divulged who the other two people involved were. In or around March 2024, Kagan Klein was placed in the same general area as Ricci Davis. At some point, apparently learned that Ricci Davis had talked or been talking with Ron Logan while Ron Logan had been in the Newcastle Correctional Facility. Over time, Klein began questioning Ricci Davis as to his conversations with Ron Logan and whether Logan had ever mentioned his name during those conversations. Ricci Davis began to realize that Klein may have been one of the other members of the crew that Logan described as being involved in the murders. Now remember, this hypothesis going here between Ricci and Ron Logan and Keegan Klein is that there are three involved. Well, you know my opinion or my belief that that's only the tip of the iceberg. Okay. That's only the tip of the iceberg. I believe there's actually 6 to 12 or so involved. But let's continue. Over time, Kagan Klein began to reveal information about the Delphi murders that corroborated details that Ron Logan had revealed to Ricci Davis. We're going to get to that later as well. Some of the details Keegan Klein provided to Ricci Davis are the types of details that could only be known by someone involved in the killings. These conversations between Ricci Davis and Keegan Klein occurred all the way up to the guilty verdict. Now, let me stop here because I don't know if all of you might have caught that the way that struck me. But you know, there are televisions, there's phone calls, there's word on the street. So don't think just because these guys are on the inside that they don't know what's going on the outside. So I find it pretty interesting that they're tuned in to what's going on with Richard Allen in the courtroom, okay, in this process. And that as this is happening and as they're tuned into what's happening, conversations are happening, which makes it all the more believable, and I guess it gives weight to it, to validity to it. And you're going to understand what I mean as we go through it, because it shows you that there's a level of concern, okay? These conversations between Ricci Davis and Kagan Klein occurred all the way up to the guilty verdict, at which time Klein expressed his relief that he would no longer be a viable suspect in the murders due to Richard Allen's conviction. Again, these conversations occurred all the way up to the guilty verdict, at which time Klein expressed his relief that he would no longer be a viable suspect in the murders due to Richard Allen's conviction. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's skin in the game. Let me tell you, there's skin in the game here. And I've always believed that. Not knowing whether Richard Allen could be the third person involved in the murders, Ricci Davis asked Keegan Klein whether Mr. Allen was the third person involved in the murders. Klein replied that Richard Allen was not the third person and had nothing to do with the murders. So who's out here lying in these streets? Because we're getting conflicting stories. But this sounds like it actually happened. Keegan Klein further revealed to Ricci Davis that he and Ron Logan knew each other through the sharing of CSAM that they shared on burner phones, and that further that they would see each other every 3 to 6 months so that Klein could assist Logan with using the burner phones, because Logan was inept working with electronic devices. See, if you go back in my channel a year or two ago, you'll see me saying that Klein was selling burner phones that were preloaded with CSAM. How many of you here been around here in this channel from the very beginning? How many of you remember me saying that? Remember me saying Klein was a little hustler? He would sell some drugs. He would sell burner phones loaded with CSAM for cash. Seems like this word on the street got some teeth. Ricci Davis further explained that once Keegan Klein began revealing his roles or involvement in the murders, sometime in the summer and fall of 2024, before Mr. Allen's October trial, Ricci began sending letters to Nick McClelland and providing many of the details of his conversations with Keegan Klein and with Ron Logan. Ricci Davis indicated that he believes he sent as many as 8 letters to McClelland's office and presume that McClellan was sharing the contents of those letters with Richard Allen's defense team. Seven letters before, one letter after. Don't you think that there are probably copies of those letters somewhere in the mix? We need to see those letters. Nicholas McClellan is accountable for those letters. And therein we enter the territory of the Brady Bunch. Thank you very much, Kay. Attorney Baldwin met with Ricci Davis on March 27th and learned very limited information from Ricci Davis, who encouraged Baldwin to watch a videotaped interview law enforcement had conducted years earlier. Okay, so let's back it up. Okay, let's back it up for our context, because we're storytellers here. So in March of 2024, well before trial, Baldwin goes to meet with Ricci Davis. Ricci Davis doesn't really know who this guy is, doesn't really trust him, doesn't know much about him, doesn't really want to talk anyway. This is almost a year ago. But he tells Baldwin, he says, look, there's a recording of me telling everything you want to know. So just go find the recording. Because I did an interview with law enforcement. They recorded it. At their February 12th, 2025 meeting just the other day, Ricci Davis further admitted that when Baldwin met with him a year prior, that he did not provide all of the details he knew at the time because, one, he had not heard yet many of the details from Keegan, including that Keegan was involved in the crime and knew Ron Logan. And two, at the time he met with Baldwin, he could not be sure whether or not Richard Allen was one of the other two people that Ron Logan described as having been involved. So he was guarded in that March 27th, 2024 meeting with Baldwin a year ago, because he did not necessarily want to assist Richard Allen's defense counsel if indeed Richard was one of the three men involved with Ron Logan and Keegan Kline. You get the picture here? Is it making sense? I'm trying to make it understandable so that we can be present with the understanding of what's going on. Again, a year ago, in March 27th, 2024, Ricci told Baldwin that he could learn the details of what he told law enforcement by watching the videotaped interview that law enforcement had in their possession from when he was interviewed years before. Well, at this recent February 12th meeting just a week ago, Ricci was shocked to learn that Baldwin had never received the videotaped interview or the letters. Smelling like they're hiding something yet? Remember, they hid Jeffrey Turco. They hid the entire Todd Click report. They hid Todd Click. They hid Kevin Horan. All right? Geofencing. They hid the Odinist angle. Following his March 27th, 2024 interview a year ago, Attorney Baldwin emailed Nick McClellan and Stacey Diener. Okay, this was March 28, 2024. March 28, 2024. He requests that the prosecutor, that the state turn over the videotaped interview with Ricci Davis, in which Davis had provided details of Ron Logan's confessions, allegedly. To this day, prosecution has never provided or turned over any videotaped interview of Ricci Davis, or explained why it has not done so, or stated no such videotape exists or does exist. They've basically ignored the request. But that's not all they've ignored, okay? Like I said, if you go and listen to Baldwin's interview last night, he makes it very clear that what they do is they ignore, they lie, they don't cooperate, they obstruct. It's called Carroll County, Indiana, hiding the murderers of Abby and Libby for 8 years now. Number 5, the approximate 8 letters Ricci Davis claims he sent to McClellan in the months leading up to trial would contain multiple layers of exculpatory evidence, which the defense could have used to further its investigation as to whether certain facts contained in those letters could be verified through crime scene photographs, digital data, and a variety of other means. Basic investigation. Well, oddly enough, defense has never seen those Ricci Davis letters, nor even been informed of their existence. It's only because of Mr. Davis himself that Mr. Baldwin and the defense of Richard Allen is aware those letters and that interview exists. Kind of like Todd Click, isn't it? It's only because of Mr. Click that the entire Odinist report is known about and the investigation of Ferenczi, Click, and Murphy. Now, on the evening of February 12th, 2025, just a week ago, defense counsel Andy Baldwin emailed Nick McClellan and Steve Mullen requesting that they both produce the Davis letters and any video recording in their possession of an interview with Ricci. McClellan's response was basically vague, non-responsive, as usual. He did not indicate whether he ever received those letters, nor whether he sent those letters to the defense. In other words, he never confirmed or denied the existence of those letters. Neither did he confirm nor deny that he provided those to defense counsel. And total crickets on the interview. On February 13, okay, which is 5 days ago, Attorney Baldwin sent another email to McClellan asking straightforward questions like this. Did you receive multiple letters from Ricci Davis in the months leading up to Richard Allen's October 2024 trial? And if so, did you turn those letters over to the defense? These letters or these questions should be questions easily answered and quickly answered. If McClellan never received such letters, he should know that to answer immediately, since Ricci Davis claims that he sent the letters directly to Nick McClellan. If McClellan did receive such letters, he should know that answer immediately. Furthermore, if he did receive such letters, he should very quickly be able to identify the dates that he sent those letters to the defense, and he should know how he sent them to the defense. You see? In other words, a fucking straight answer. He should have a straight answer on the letters and the interview. Are you going to tell me that? Are you going to tell me that they accidentally got deleted? Oh, we accidentally deleted the video interview of Ricci Davis. Just another accidental deletion. Just, shit happens. Or is he going to say, yeah, there was a problem. Those 7 or 8 letters that Ricci Davis wrote me, we accidentally destroyed them. They were accidentally destroyed. No, there's no record. Sorry, we didn't. We don't know the dates they were received. We don't have copies of them. Everything's accidentally destroyed. So sorry. So sorry. As of the time of the filing of this document, McClellan has failed to answer these simple, straightforward questions. And hey, we know that still today he is yet to answer. You know why? Because last night, Mr. Baldwin said so. Crickets. The defense has reviewed all emails during the applicable time frame to determine whether McClellan ever forwarded an email with attached letters from Ricci Davis. No such emails exist. The defense requests that the court order McClellan's office, as well as any law enforcement agency, to preserve any letters from Ricci Davis in their possession, and further, to turn them over to the defense immediately. The defense similarly requests the court to order McClellan's office, as well as any law enforcement agency, to preserve any video recording of an interview with Ricci Davis in their possession, and further, to turn such video recording or recordings over immediately. The defense is concerned that without an order from the court, the prosecution, the prosecutor, and or law enforcement, Steve Mullen, may lose, delete, destroy, trash, throw away, fuck up those Davis letters, as well as the videotaped interview of Ricci Davis. And you could probably bank on it that they've already done so. They're also concerned that they just may refuse to turn them over to the defense. The defense's concern is well founded based upon law enforcement's history in this case of losing evidence as documented before trial. including claiming that they taped over certain important video interviews. The defense can produce a witness with admissible evidence that in the months before Mr. Allen's trial, the prosecution received some number of letters from Ricci Davis and that those letters had been given to the people investigating the case. Let's read that again. Because here's your Brady. The defense can produce a witness with admissible evidence that in the months before Mr. Allen's trial, the prosecution received some number of letters from Ricci Davis and that those letters had been given to the people investigating the case. The defense had a constitutional right to know of the existence of those letters so that they could conduct their own investigation concerning the content of those letters, including conducting depositions that would naturally flow from the facts alleged in those letters. Materially exculpatory evidence had the defense known of Ricci Davis's letters before trial, it could have used those letters to further its investigation. Present them to this court at the hearing on August 1st, 2024 on third-party suspect culpability and factored the information contained in those letters into its trial strategy. Yes, it could have presented it at that August 1st, 2024 hearing, which was one of the most important. Remember, you got two extremely important dates. March 18, 2024 and August 1st, 2024. Those are the two most important hearings, in my opinion. Had the defense received those letters after the verdict, then the defense could have incorporated those letters into its motion to correct error, which was just denied. For the foregoing reasons, the defendant respectfully requests the court to order the prosecution and any law enforcement agency to preserve the letters from Ricci Davis in their possession, to immediately turn over any letters from Ricci Davis in their possession to the defense, to preserve any video recordings of interviews of Ricci Davis in their possession, and to immediately turn over any video recordings with Ricci Davis in their possession. And lastly, to preserve all records in whatever form and communications, electronic or other, including emails and text messages, anything pertaining to Ricci Davis. Now, you see, there's an epidemic of deleting shit, of delays, of obstruction, of lies. They were allowed to present lies on the stand in trial. But we're going to take a little trip down memory lane, because what's important for you to understand is it's not just this. It's not just this moment in time. It's not just these letters. It's not just this videotaped interview of Ricci Davis. There's a lot of concern here. This prosecutor has demonstrated a habit of Brady-like behavior, destroying evidence, withholding evidence purposefully, delaying the handing over, the requesting that exculpatory type of evidence or exonerating type of evidence be hidden from the court or from the jury. Remember, sketches, Ron Logan, Keegan Kline, Frank's memorandum, never even got a Frank's hearing. This will be all going to a higher court, okay? It's inevitable. This can't be allowed to stand. But let's take a look at some things, okay? I want to show you some various things. Just we're gonna gonna refresh our memories, okay? Well, let's see. Remember this? Motion to compel. Request for sanctions. Let's take a trip down memory lane. The defense seeks a sanction against the state for a variety of discovery violations. See? Pursuant to local rule, the state of Indiana shall disclose and furnish all relevant items and information to the defendant within 30 days from the date of the appearance. All right, 30 days. Now, remember, this is March of 2024. Look at this. To this day, the state of Indiana continues to provide late discovery of items and information that it was required to provide no later than December 14 of 2024. For example, on February of 2024, the defense sent a certified letter seeking pieces of evidence, over 20, that the defense believes exists, but the state of Indiana has failed to turn over. In a certified letter sent to the prosecutor, the defense requested a determination if said evidence existed. To determine if that evidence had been turned over, because the defense was not able to locate any of it in the vast amount of discovery provided. In other words, the defense was seeking clarity. The state of Indiana did not respond to the letter. Did not respond, number 7. But sent one discovery strand which contained a small portion of that evidence requested, including certain videotaped interviews that have never been turned over, involving people integral to the timeline. Right. So 30 days, right? Which meant December 14th, 2022. But you don't get it until February, late February of 2024. The state of Indiana turned over these pieces of evidence more than 14 months late. 14 months. Pursuant to local rule, the defense is not required to make any requests for evidence, as the state of Indiana is required to turn over all relevant items. Yet, without making these specific requests, it appears the defense would not have ever received those items 14 months late. The frustration from the defense is that this is not the first time that this has happened. Law enforcement and the prosecutor are in total control of what evidence is turned over. The defense doesn't have the luxury of knowing what relevant or exculpatory material evidence the state possesses and has turned over versus what material, exculpatory, or relevant evidence the state has that it has not turned over. Over the course of this case, the defense has learned of certain evidence referenced in other discovered documents. Okay, pay attention to this one. Referenced in other documents in discovery or mentioned from other sources or from exercising common sense that causes the defense to believe certain evidence exists, but the prosecution has not turned over. And then the defense later determines that the prosecutor did in fact possess those items, but failed to turn the items over until requested specifically to do so. Like, what do you call Brady? The history of the prosecutor failing to turn over all relevant evidence has caused great concern to the defense. Over the course of the case, many items that the state has failed to provide in a timely manner are what the defense would label as major pieces of evidence. This is number 14, even exculpatory evidence. Many of the items the state failed to provide were only provided after the defense had specifically requested those items or came to learn that those items existed, but the state had failed to turn over. For example, one of the most important pieces of evidence is the data retrieved from the phone found at the scene where the victims were found. Listen to this. I mean, let me slap you awake. Listen to this. One of the more important pieces of evidence is the data retrieved from the phone found at the scene where the victims were found. What the troll farm calls Libby's phone, but we know is not Libby's phone. This piece of evidence contains data concerning the down the hill video and other important information. The most important piece of evidence in this case. This phone and the data on the phone have been available since February 14th of 2017. Yet the defense did not receive that data from the phone until September 8th, 2023, nearly 9 months after the state should have turned over the evidence. The defense, knowing that this information, that this phone had to exist, no doubt, sent an email to the prosecutor on June 17th, 2023, saying, "Where's the fucking data from the phone? Where's the phone?" June 17th. Understand, this is owed by December 14th, 2022. And it's not until June 17th when it's not discovered all the way until June 17th. And the attorneys say, "Where the fuck is the phone?" And even though that email goes out on June 17th, it's still delayed. June, July, August, September. Do you understand what I'm saying here? It's already 6 months later that they have to beg for it. And then the fuckface waits another 3 months. It gets better though. Most of those other items that were requested on that June 17th, 2023 email to the prosecutor still had not been turned over as of March of 2024. That's right. This includes reports and other information related to the images of the bridge, as well as the image of Abby walking on the bridge. Those photos were not turned over. And we know with as far as the Abby on the bridge, that shit don't exist. Hello? The week of August 5th, 2023, the defense took several depositions. At the conclusion of the week, it became clear to the prosecution that the defense was going to be pursuing Odinism. Information regarding those who had been investigated by Todd Click, Greg Ferenczi, and Kevin Murphy. On or about September 8, 2023, nearly a month after said depositions, and 9 months after this was due to the defense, 9 months delay, the prosecutor provided a daunting amount of newly discovered evidence, including a letter from Todd Click's lawyer. Upon receiving this missing evidence, the defense was surprised to learn that on May 1st, the prosecutor's office signed for a letter from Todd Click. Yet, it failed to alert to the defense as to the existence of this exculpatory discovery until after the prosecutor knew for certain that the defense would be calling Todd Click for future depositions. McClelland did not turn over that letter and its exculpatory material to the defense until September 8, 2023. That's 131 days. And only because he knew that they would be going down that road. Prosecutor offered no explanation and don't give a fuck. Between September 8, 2023 and October 6, 2023, which was approximately 90 days before the January 2024 trial date, the state of Indiana dumped 14 fucking hard drives, 5 flash drives, 1 disk, and e-discovery on the defense. Are you hearing me out there? Less than 3 months before the originally scheduled trial date of January 2024, leaving them with a mere matter of months. The state dumped all the discovery on that defense team. Even worse, it was scrambled like your morning eggs. They provided zero explanation as to why they had not turned over this massive amount of evidence: 14 hard drives, 5 flash drives, a disk, and e-discovery. 9 months late than required. 9 months later than required. And only 2 or 3 months before this fucking trial was supposed to begin. The very last discovered item that defense received before the prosecutor requested the defense be kicked off the fucking case, let's not forget about that incident, was the geofencing evidence. The geofencing evidence was received 10 months after the state was required to turn it over. That's right. That's right. It contained what appeared to be highly exculpatory evidence concerning a variety of important matters, including the phone numbers of multiple people who appear to have either been at the crime scene or within 60 or 100 yards of the crime scene during the very time the state says that the victims were supposed to have been murdered. And then there was the map of the geofencing evidence, which Allen's attorneys requested that the state provide all information and reports related to geofencing and to who created this. But the state of Indiana claimed that no such documents exist. Remember when I told you they tried to hide Kevin Horan, the geofencing expert, from the defense so that the defense would not know what was going on with that geofencing? You know why or how? They tried to hide behind the FBI and say, we don't know who. We don't have any information on that. It's somebody with the FBI. We don't know. And ultimately, they got the judge to exclude the geofencing from the trial. Once again, this jury was kept deaf, dumb, and blind. It was the only way they were ever going to get a conviction on Richard Allen, and it succeeded. Oh, sorry. All right, there we go. The prosecutor's denial of the existence of certain documents regarding the phone dump before the deposition, followed by the unexplained, magical, sudden Miraculous production of documents within minutes prior to the deposition is not surprising. But it highlights the less than forthright style in which the prosecution has been turning over evidence to the defense, dating back to the very beginning of the case. Like I said, it's been a cover up from before day one. Listen to me say it again. This has been a cover up since before day one. Who are they protecting? Furthermore, because of the lack of candor concerning the existence or non-existence of certain evidence, the defense cannot be sure whether certain documents exist concerning geofencing. Since rejoining the case, the defense sought the names of the geofencing expert, Kevin Horan, who analyzed the geofencing evidence. At first, the prosecutor refused to provide the names of the expert, but then told the defense he would ask. Following the request for the identity of the geofencing expert, the prosecution claimed he had no idea who analyzed the geofencing data, just like he had no idea who the professor was. Who was the Purdue professor? Oh, we have no idea. We just don't know, and we don't know if we'll ever be able to tell you who the Purdue professor is. Oh, we don't know who did the geofencing, and we don't know if we'll ever be able to tell you who did the geofencing. So sorry. The defense learned that according to the geofencing data, there were 3 phones moving in or around the crime scene, the location where the bodies were ultimately found, at the time when the murders would have been taking place according to the state's timeline. And one of those phones magically leaves the crime scene only 5 minutes after something is plugged into that headphone jack of the victim's phone. Let me repeat that. The third phone in that geofencing leaves the scene a mere 5 minutes after something is plugged into that headphone jack. The defense located very limited background information concerning one of the owners of one of the phones, but did not locate any narrative reports, interviews, or notes concerning the owner of the phone. It would be shocking if the owners of these phones were not interviewed when their movements were tracked and replicated on a map depicting their movements in and around the crime scene. Yet the defense has not located any interviews of the owners of those phones. After the debacle involving the identity of the Purdue professor, the defense has no faith at all that the prosecution will produce evidence such as geofencing analysis. As detailed in the Franks memorandum filed September 18, 2023, as well as in the defendant's additional Franks notice filed October 3rd, 2023, since August 10th, the defense had asked the prosecutor to identify the Purdue professor. According to Jerry Holman, the Purdue professor had reviewed the arrangement of certain sticks left at the crime scene and concluded the sticks at the crime scene did not represent Odinism or any type of cult worshiping or any type of group that would have committed the crime. However, after his deposition, the defense sought the identity of this Purdue professor. No one from the prosecution or law enforcement claimed they could remember or knew the Purdue professor's name. The defense made several requests from the prosecutor to identify this Purdue professor. for the purposes of conducting a deposition. On September 6, 2023, the prosecutor sent an email that said, as stated before, we are trying to identify the Purdue professor, but no luck yet. Detective Holman has reached out to the FBI in Purdue and has not gotten a response yet. See, still hiding behind the FBI. This response from the prosecutor seemed utterly preposterous. It had been nearly a month since the defense first made its request to identify that Purdue professor. The mere identity of the Purdue professor is considered discovery that should have been turned over to the defense on December fucking 14th, 2022. So why are we begging a year later for his identity? I'll continue. In addition to the discovery violations already identified in this document, the state of Indiana has also failed to produce other evidence that the defense has had to either pursue on its own or make specific requests for. Some of the evidence includes, but it's not limited to, the faked crime scene image found on Brad Holder's Facebook. Defense had to travel to Georgia and get that for themselves. Video of a ritual in Fort Wayne involving Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall, in which Westfall can be seen marking a tree. That was only found because it was referenced in an email between Greg Ferenczi and Tony Liggett. Video of Elvis Fields, not turned over until September 8, 2023. Video of Johnny Messer, Rod Abrams, and Ned Smith, all not turned over until September 8, 2023. That's 9 months. These attempts at concealing potentially exculpatory material evidence at the hands of Holman and the prosecutor provides the underpinnings to support the defense's position that law enforcement and the prosecutor's office continue to hide evidence from the defense, and they do so without care or concern of any consequences from the court. So the defense requests that the court compel the state to turn over all reports detailing how certain videos that should have been found on the hard drive were purportedly deleted. Oh, we've totally forgotten about that. We haven't even discussed the total deletion of potentially exculpatory material evidence. Yeah, total deletion of videotaped interviews, interrogations held between February 13 and February 20th, 2017, the very first week of the investigation. You ever heard that term, the first 48? The fucking first 48. Yeah. You think it would have mattered? The very first week of the investigation. Wiped out, clean slate, nothing to see here. These included interrogations of Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall. Oh, yes, it did. How about an explanation for why you have a hard drive in which the video is present, but somehow mysteriously the audio has been deleted? Yeah. Oh, what was said in those interviews? I would like to know. I'd really like to know what was said. Hey guys, we can't just fucking delete every single hard drive. Why don't we just delete the audio track from this particular hard drive? Oh yeah, check. 10-4. 10-4. We'll just delete the audio from this one. No one will know a thing. And then here, number D, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. Hey, this one too. Hey, this one. Hey, fuck it. So you know that whatever she said on that particular interview, just delete the whole fucking drive. Delete all the audio. They'll never hear it. Or how about the mysterious sketch? Number E. On hard drive Delphi DVR Drive 1 export, it appears that a sketch artist met with a lady and sketched out an image of a male. The defense has never seen this sketch, nor has the prosecutor produced this sketch. The defense requests the name of the female and maybe all the documents of the sketch artist, substance of the conversation. How about the sketch itself? You know what else they withheld? All of Derek German's interviews. All of Derek German's. Nothing to see here. All of Kelsey German's. Cody Patty's. Kyle Smith. Abby on the bridge. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. You ain't getting it. You ain't getting it. How about all the phone dumps? How about the identity of the persons labeled in the geofencing data as geofence victim? That's not of the phone that Libby had in her possession. Oh, whose phone is that? Oh, would that be Abby's phone? The phone Abby had in her possession? I don't know. Did she have a phone in her possession? Who's geofence victim? That's not Libby. Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of shit we're dealing with here. But it even gets better. That's not it. Oh, dude, there's so much. There's just mountains, mountains of this. There's mountains of this. From this document, there's this. There's a report from Mullen explaining how you erased all this shit. It's undated, but you got February 14th to February 20, all erased. Is that a Brady? Okay, well, how about all videos between April 28th, 2017 and June 30th? Hey, this is news to the defense, as the defense was unaware that certain videos uh, between April 28th and June 30th, 2017 were missing. Okay, so we're asking for all. How about give us a list of all persons whose interviews were deleted? I mean, since you have 70 days of deletions, the state of Indiana has lost 70 days worth of interviews and claims to have no ability to fully account for that. The state of Indiana, look at number 8. The state of Indiana claims that no phone dump evidence exists from Kelsey German's phones, nor Mike or Becky, nor Cody Patty's phones. And furthermore, the prosecutor's office does not possess any phone dump data from the family's phones. However, number 9, it's still unknown whether that phone dump evidence did exist at some point in time, which is a more than fair question considering the loss of 70 days of investigative activity. It would be hard to believe that law enforcement would not have obtained the phone dump data from the parties identified in this paragraph: Kelsey German, Mike, Becky, and Cody Patty, to at least determine timelines. Because the state of Indiana has lost other important pieces of evidence, 70 days worth of videotaped interviews, the defense would therefore ask this court to compel the state of Indiana to answer whether the phone dump data ever existed, and if so, what came of it. You see what kind of shit show we're dealing with here? Shit, I can't even keep up with this. I mean, it's what is this called? How about this one? April 23rd, 2024. Pursuant to Rule 2.5 of the Indiana Rules of Criminal Procedure, the state must disclose and furnish all relevant items and information under Section B2 to the defense within 30 days of the initial hearing. And remember, that would have been December 12th, I believe, or December 14th. December 14th. Indiana Rules of Criminal Procedure 2.5b2 states that the state must disclose the following information within its possession or control: the names and last addresses of known persons whom the state intends to call as witnesses, written, oral, or recorded statements by the accused or so-called co-defendant, regardless of whether charged or joined, and a list of witnesses to the making and acknowledgement of such statements, any reports or statements of experts, okay, any books, paper documents, etc., etc., etc. The above information was due by December 14th, 2022. Between September 8th, 2023, and October 6, 2023, 9 months after it was due, the state sent 14 hard drives, 5 flash drives, 3 DVDs, and several emails containing discovery disclosures amounting to almost 4 terabytes of information. Before the defense had a chance to review all this late discovery, the prosecutor requested the defense be kicked off the fucking case. You remember that? That's a whole other can of worms that we're not talking about tonight. But remember the war that has gone on here. But it gets better. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin were reinstated and re-entered their appearance on January 19. The 2017 extraction and data and other items of discovery were turned over to the defense on January 30th, 2024. However, it did not appear to the defense that the hard drives were organized the same as when they were originally provided during their first tenure before they were forced off the case. These changes have caused considerable delay in locating evidence, if the evidence can be located at all. You know what it seems like to me? Did they delete some more shit? Did they do some dirty deleting? Because why would the same hard drives suddenly be organized differently? Remember, you got your known knowns, your known unknowns, and your unknown unknowns. Additionally, it appears that the state has belatedly disclosed tens of thousands of documents spread through many hard drives. After Rozzi and Baldwin were reinstated, the state turned over 2 hard drives to Rozzi and Baldwin on January 30th, 2024, while the defense should have had those hard drives before December 14th, 2022. And it gets worse because of Kathy Shank and Steve Mullen. Most of the items on these hard drives are not labeled in any descriptive fashion, and many, if not most of them, have zero context as to the significance. Many of the items are not accompanied by a report or even notes that explain the reason such items are in discovery. For example, one video shows a man that appears to be dead on a bed being turned over by what appear to be police. Yeah, is that Blaine Nelson? There's no context provided as to why that video is included in this massive amount of discovery, or what the video has to do with the murders of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Whoa, well, I can tell you, because it's a methamphetamine group of people who killed these kids. Listen, the cartel runs the trade. The bigwigs in the counties, they are the distributors. The dealers get the shit from the distributors. Everybody is called meth heads, meth game. They call themselves Vinlanders. Hello? Vinlanders? Listen, Vinlanders. They sell meth to your kids, to your sisters, to your wives, to your husbands. This is not a lone wolf killing. This is not only a couple perverts like Ron Logan and Keegan Kline. This is something else. There are tentacles, and the same people involved in these murders are involved in other murders. Figure it out, Indiana, if you care. Furthermore, the state of Indiana has sent repeated piece fucking meal discovery, forcing the defense to engage in time consuming processes of reviewing and attempting to search multiple hard drives, flash drives, and e-discovery for particular documents the defense believes to exist but cannot locate. The state of Indiana intentionally has drowned the defense in late discovery disclosures, which materially harms the defense team in preparing for trial in a meaningful and cohesive way. And now you know why they fucked up. Liberty cell phone. Despite the state's possession for over 5 years when the charges were filed, the extraction and data from Liberty's phone was not provided to Mr. Allen's attorneys until September 8, 2023, 9 months after due. And that's your smoking gun. That's the magic fucking phone, right? Liberty's phone, quote unquote. Nothing to see here. As part of a reasonable defense, uh, reasonable investigation, the defense would have wanted the opportunity to compare the 2017 extraction to the 2019 extraction. And further, wanted to exercise that opportunity on or before December 14th, 2022. When the state was required to turn over all the extractions of the victim's phone. There's no justification for submitting the 2017 cell phone extraction or any other extraction and data 9 months after they were due. Police Chief Todd Click letter, report, and evidence. Remember the Click report sent by certified mail to Nicholas McClelland on April 28, 2023. Prosecutor signed for the certified letter on May 1st, 2023. Yet inexplicably, McClelland did not disclose this exculpatory report or accompanying exculpatory videos and other related discovery until September 8, 2023, 4 months after he received it. Rule 3.8D of the Rules of Professional Conduct, Special Responsibilities of a Prosecutor states, quote, the prosecutor in a criminal case shall make timely disclosure to the defense of all evidence or information known to the prosecutor that tends to negate the guilt of the accused or mitigates the offense. The prosecution should have turned over that material evidence immediately upon receipt. Once again, this also pertains to Ricci Davis's letter or letters, right? Ricci Davis's letters before trial. The rules of professional conduct state special responsibility of a prosecutor. The prosecutor in a criminal case shall make timely disclosure to the defense of all evidence or information known to the prosecutor that tends to negate the guilt of the accused or mitigates the offense. Now you tell me. Let's see. Before trial, you receive 7 letters. Defense still doesn't have them to this day. Or May 1st to September 8th. Oh yeah, 4 months timely. How about this? The fact that the state of Indiana has violated rules of discovery through very late disclosure of large volumes of evidence, including evidence that supports the theories of innocence, has put the defense in a precarious position where it could have kept the October 2024 trial date and spent the next 6 to 8 months reviewing late evidence that the state of Indiana had in its possession, and risked the continued deterioration of their client's physical and mental well-being, or seek a speedy trial and hope they can put a case together in spite of the significant discovery violations perpetuated by the state that have put the defense at least to 9 to 10 months behind. And the entire time, Richard Allen was downward spiraling into a mental health crisis. We almost forgot about that, didn't we? As a basis for understanding the impact of solitary confinement for even 2 weeks on a human being, let alone 16 plus months, the defense cites the United Nations findings on that topic. The United Nations Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, Rules 43 and 44, prohibits the imposition of solitary confinement for prolonged periods, defined as periods of 15 days or longer. Oh, let's see, 15 days or 15 months. 15 days, and you got Richard Allen with 15 plus months, while they delay 9, 10, and 14 months with the delivering of potentially exculpatory discovery, material evidence. And look at all this other shit that they were begging for. Motion to compel right here. Geofencing. Detective Murphy testified that law enforcement had pings and other information related to Elvis Fields' phone. Hey, look, what they do is they leave their phones behind. Standard operating procedures for evidence collection by Indiana State Police, Carroll County, and Delphi PD. Chain of custody documents related to the bullet purportedly found near the bodies. Chain of custody documents related to sticks, branches, and bark found at the scene. To date, no such data has been located by the defense, or the defense cannot locate the information. Photographs of the bullet and photographs of the bullet at the crime lab and at the crime scene. But the defense has no other photographs or video of the bullet at any other time. Can you provide such photographs? Or how about this? PowerPoint presentations which were titled executive briefs or summaries including a PowerPoint presentation connecting Elvis Fields to Delphi. Or now that was one of the things that was in discovery until they were kicked off and then later replaced, and all of a sudden the Elvis Fields fucking PowerPoint disappears. Right, right. And we're going to get to that because remember when McClellan, I want you to really brainstorm here. Remember when McClellan tried to eliminate any PowerPoints made by law enforcement as part of the investigation? Why are you trying to hide Elvis Fields, McClellan, and any PowerPoints related to Elvis Fields, McClellan? Why did they disappear from discovery, McClellan? Here's about this. Members of the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit were present and engaged in this investigation. References have been made to Behavioral Analysis Unit reports. However, the defense has not been able to locate any reports from the BAU agents or any other law enforcement agency or agents concerning assessments of the crime scene regarding Odinism, Nordic culture or paganism, Germanic culture, runes, magic, cult activity, and heathenism, all of which we know to be involved. That's a big one. That's a big one. That's paragraph H. That's 35H for those of you keeping track. 35H. They tried to hide the BAU reports concerning Odinism, Norse paganism, Germanic culture, runes, magic, cults, heathenism. Oh, yes, they did. Because we know they existed, because we know what the FBI determined. We also know what Nicole Robertson was looking for at Ron Logan's, which was this exact thing. But sure, nothing to see here. 35H. In its April 16, 2024 certified letter to the prosecutor, the defense requested that the prosecutor explain his reasonings for failing to turn over the exculpatory click information for 4 months when that Brady material, Brady material should have been turned over immediately. 2, explain your September 6, 2023 email in which you made false claims and misrepresentations to the defense concerning the identity of a Purdue professor, Jeffrey Turco, and law enforcement's attempts to locate his identity, even going as far as telling the defense that the state of Indiana may not be able to ever learn the identity of Jeffrey Turco. 3, explain the reason for dumping 14 fucking hard drives, 5 flash drives, 3 DVDs, and e-discovery 9 months late. 9 months later than required by statute, and thereby putting the defense at a very distinct disadvantage. While they're dealing with their clients' extreme physical and mental deterioration and health issues. Additionally, and this is where it's going to come to bite them in the ass. Oh, did I skip? Sorry, I skipped ahead. Number 40 here is important. It's important. This is related to today, okay? In early April, the defense requested to the prosecution to provide Brady Gigolo material, if it exists, concerning certain law enforcement officials. And right now we're asking for it regarding Ricci Davis, buddy. Brady Gigolo, do you hear me? Do you hear me? This is going to a higher court, buddy. You're setting yourself up for Brady Gigolo. The defense provided a deadline of April 15th, 2024 for said Brady Gigolo material, then extended to April 19, 2024. To date, the prosecution has failed to provide any Brady Gigolo material, nor has the state indicated that no such material exists. The defense believes that at least one key member of law enforcement has Brady Gigolo material that the state of Indiana has failed to turn over to defense. Yeah, and now we believe Nicholas McClellan has Brady Gigolo material in the term of 8 letters from Ricci Davis and 1 videotape. But sure, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. It's only Delphi, isn't it? But instead of cooperation, this is what they got, right? This is what they got right here. It's actually this way. We'll go with this. On April 29th, 2024, this is what they got. The state filed a motion in limine seeking to limit forms of evidence in this case, materially, potentially exculpatory evidence. And that means that which remains, because we know that 70 days at a minimum was deleted. Oh, I don't care, Jindy. I don't care. It's not my fucking law. Law is not my deal. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Not here for law. I'm here for Abby and Libby. April 29. McClellan decides, as if it's not bad enough that we've deleted 70 days of important evidence and we've done all this other shit, we're going to say, let's limit Odinism, cult of ritualistic killing, Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, Ned Smith, Rod Abrams, Keegan Kline, Jerry Klein, Ron Logan. Furthermore, investigative records by Todd Click, geofencing records by law enforcement and the FBI. Oh, rich. See, they didn't want any of the actual people involved discussed in this particular case. No, because guess what? If you get one of the actual people involved, you get all of the ones involved. And that's, remember, we're hiding people in Delphi. We're not solving a crime. We're not bringing justice to Abby and Libby. We're hiding the guilty parties, protecting them at all cost. Therefore, you cannot even have you cannot even have even one of them brought into trial. Because if you bring one in, the whole house of cards crumbles. That's why the court takes issue with third party culpability. At different times during the hearing, from November 22nd, 2022, where the state was seeking to seal the probable cause affidavit, charging information, all other records. Remember, I showed it to you last time. Okay, remember, I showed you last time how Nicholas McClellan has attempted to bury this case from day one. Everything was to be done in the dark, zero transparency. That's why there's no cameras. That's why everything's clouded. That's why still to this day, we do not have our eyes on evidence that was presented in trial. But as he is trying to keep this entire thing under wraps and under seal, he says, this is a very ongoing investigation. Our goal is to find anyone else who was involved in this heinous crime. We have good reason to believe that Richard Allen is not the only person involved in this case, that there may be other actors involved. That's why we left the tip line open. That's why we left the tip email open. The question becomes, at least in the state's mind, is it more important to release the details of the investigation to the public, or more important to keep those confidential in order for the investigation to continue and find anyone else that's responsible? It puts the investigation in the best possible position to determine if anyone else was involved. Jerry Holman says the investigation is ongoing and fluid. Investigator Mullen says the matter is still being actively investigated. Law enforcement is continuing to search and seek facts and information related to Richard Allen and other potential suspects. So are you picking up what I'm putting down here? Allen has had a right under the 6th and 14th Amendments to present evidence attacking the credibility of the prosecution's case. Undermining the believability of the prosecution's lying ass witnesses. Identifying third party suspects. And establishing Mr. Allen's theory of the case. This right is the cornerstone of the adversarial process and essential to a fundamentally fair trial. And denial of this right constitutes structural error. See? When the prosecution seeks to prevent and accuse the opportunity to present other versions or possibilities regarding the alleged crime, either through cross-examination or his own witnesses and exhibits, they are urging the trial court to commit not only an evidentiary error, but a constitutional error from which prejudice is presumed. So what do you think they did to this jury? To Mr. Allen and to the jury, they committed error. Exclusion of evidence tending to show that someone other than the accused committed the charged crime is inconsistent with substantial justice and therefore cannot be deemed harmless error. The evidence or the question becomes what type of evidence is so critical and unique to Mr. Allen's defense that the U.S. and Indiana constitutions, above and beyond the Indiana rules of evidence, require its admission. The Indiana courts have answered that question by reversing cases. The Indiana courts have answered that question by reversing cases, hello, which excluded evidence challenged when the excluded evidence challenged the credibility of the state's investigation and witnesses, presented an alternative exculpatory explanation of the state's evidence, or showed that someone else could have committed the crime. At the hearing on the motion in limine, Mr. Allen's team presented evidence that the murders of Abby and Libby have ties to Odinism and were ritualistic in appearance. Mr. Allen also presented evidence that third parties were possibly linked to the murders. The prosecutor sought to exclude evidence of third party motive. And unfortunately, they succeeded. They requested that testimony or evidence concerning Odinism, cult killing, Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, Ned Smith, Rod Abrams, Keegan Klein, Tony Klein, and Ron Logan be excluded. But Mr. Allen was entitled to present evidence pursuant to the 6th and 14th Amendments and to Article 1, Section 12 and 13 of the Indiana Constitution, that the crime had ritualistic ties. And Dr. Perlmutter gave expert testimony that the location of the crime, the date of the crime, the cause of the crime, or death, the manner, the murder weapon being a knife, the symbols at the crime scene, including the sticks on the body and the marking on the tree, were placed intentionally in arrangements which would be meaningful to the individuals who committed the crime. FBI Special Agent Nicole Robertson testified that when she was searching the home of Ron Logan, she was looking for evidence of runes and anything Nordic due to the placement of the sticks on the girls' bodies. Dr. Perlmutter also testified to the body disposition as demonstrative of some sort of ritualistic killing, because that in ritualistic killing, bodies are often moved and positioned in that fashion. There's also atypical blood patterns on the face of Libby. And honestly, in my opinion, the concerning lack of blood underneath the body of Abby. The 6th and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 13 of the Indiana Constitution protect his rights to challenge the investigation and inquire about law enforcement's failure to consider these third-party suspects. Hello. Keep in mind that members of Unified Command failed to follow up on leads and investigations of Assistant Police Chief Todd Click, Indiana State Police Detective Kevin Murphy, and FBI Agent Greg Ferenczi. They failed to perform an extraction of Brad Holder's phone, of the entire family's phones. They failed to investigate Patrick Westfall, Elvis Fields, and many, many others. Keep in mind that Libby's cell phone showed a stop motion at 2:32 p.m. Then suddenly at 5:44 p.m., a headphone jack is plugged into it. And then at 10:32 p.m., again, the headphone jack shows that the jack is activated as unplugged. Then amazingly, at 4:33 a.m., the phone suddenly connects to the cell tower, receiving a number of text messages. Something happened at 4:33 a.m. Something happened at 4:30. Look, retards. Something happened at 4:33 a.m. Remember, that's the exact time that the news broadcast that family and friends were out there searching. Oddly enough, the very moment that that news started a broadcast, that phone lights up. The Sixth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and Article 1, Section 12 and 13 of the Indiana Constitution protect Richard's right to present evidence that someone else committed the crime. Evidence which tends to show that someone else committed the crime logically makes it less probable that the defendant committed the crime, and thus meets the definition of relevance. In order for a defendant to admit evidence that a third party is responsible for the crime, the defendant must show some connection between the third party and the crime. When the state excludes competent, reliable evidence that is central to the defendant's case, his constitutional right to present evidence is abridged. Do you understand? Now let's take a look at something here. We're going to jump ahead. We're going to page 23 of this document. Keegan Kline and Jerry Anthony Kline. Keegan Kline is the son of Jerry Anthony Kline. He was 22 years old in February 2017. He and Tony Kline resided in Peru, Indiana in February 2017. Detective David Vito, Indiana State Police, testified that Keegan Kline was communicating with Liberty German using Snapchat under the name of Anthony Shots. As a matter of fact, Detective Holman has recently said that the Anthony Shots account did cause the girls to go out to the trails that very day. Yes, you heard it. You heard it right. David Vito did definitely have this information. And there's more. David Vito testified that Keegan Kline admitted to driving to Delphi, Indiana. Listen, with his father, Jerry Anthony Kline, on February 13th, 2017. And that Keegan Kline waited in the vehicle while Jerry Anthony Kline went into the woods in the area where Abigail Williams and Liberty German's bodies were ultimately found. Detective David Vito testified that Keegan Kline stated that when Jerry Anthony Kline returned to the vehicle, he had blood on him. Roland Purdy further testified that Keegan Kline admitted that they discarded a knife in a river when they were driving home. And I've told you, they searched the wrong place in the river. They should have checked the Wayne Street Bridge. Go look at my video. All of this evidence creates a reasonable inference that Keegan Kline and Jerry Anthony Kline murdered or participated in the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. The bodies of Abby and Libby were located on February 14th on the property of Ron Logan. Ron Logan lied to law enforcement about his whereabouts on February 13, 2017. Ron Logan's physical build is somewhat consistent with the individual captured on Liberty's phone. His voice is somewhat consistent, but who knows, because we haven't seen that for ourselves. The evidence that third parties killed the girls in this manner or in this matter is exculpatory and unique and critical to Mr. Allen's defense. The crime scene included many findings that the killers practice heathenry, asatru, Odinism, whatever you want to call it, that it was ritualistic. To be exculpatory, evidence must clear or tend to clear. Tend. You see, it doesn't have to be that compelling. It must tend to clear, Mr. Allen. If someone else committed the crimes, Richard Allen did not. He has no ties to heathenism, heathenry, asatru, Odinism, or the Vinlanders Social Club. Say it again. He has no ties to heathenry, asatru, Odinism, or the Vinlanders. Jesus Christ, man. It's like screaming at the wall in here. There's no proof of any connection whatsoever. Read this paragraph. No proof of any connection of Mr. Allen to Abigail Williams or Liberty German, nor no motive as to why he would have done it. So let me get this straight. Kelsey was texting or Snapchatting with Anthony Schatz after the girls went missing via a possible ICAC owned, controlled, monitored catfishing account that made use of a male cop's highly desirable modeling photo that every child sex predator wanted to steal and reuse as their own. Kelsey was the last person to see the girls alive, allegedly. And the girls were dropped off at the Mears lot or at Logan's house, only several feet away. Kelsey and the girls were jamming to Heathens by 21 Pilots before the supposed drop off. Really? A clump of Kelsey's hair with the roots intact were found in a dead girl's hand. Meanwhile, no one ever definitively claimed that the dead girls were walking on the trails that day. Keegan or someone tied to him were admittedly posing as this Anthony Schatz, and he was texting or Snapchatting with Kelsey while the girls were missing, according to statements made by Kelsey. Ron Logan was getting his CSAM from Keegan, and Keegan was personally providing in-person deliveries to Ron Logan offline at or near his residence repeatedly. Ron's property being the site of the crime scene, the staged crime scene at that. And at least 3 people were involved in these murders, according to Ricci Davis and his account of what he's told by Keegan and Ron Logan. Keegan, Kelsey, and Ron, Keegan, Westfall, and Ron, Keegan, Tony, and Ron, Keegan, Elvis, and Ron. And now we find out that Kathy Shanks, her daughter, and Nick McClelland are all good friends of Ron and his family. And Nick and his police and prosecutors, etc., have been hiding and destroying evidence again and again and again, and delay and destroy and hide. And what are we missing? Remember this? Before our defense ridiculously, prematurely rested their case, there was a plan. What happened? Motion for transport. Comes now defendant Richard Allen. Respectfully request that this court issue an order for transport of Ricci Davis Jr. And there were more. There were more. Remember this? Let's call their names. James Chadwell. James Haas. Kagan Klein. Ricci Davis. James Chadwell. James Haas. Keegan Klein. Remember? Some of you will remember. Listen to Murder Sheet's podcast regarding the third day of last week's testimony, says Oldhart. Go to the hour 10 and 25-second mark. Listen for Murder Sheet's description of what Keegan Klein said about the day 2 kids were slaughtered in Delphi. They had a good time. Listen. They is not Keegan Klein talking about both he and his dad having a good time. They had a good time. That's what Keegan Kline, who stated he waited in the vehicle for 2 hours at the back of the cemetery, in the car, by the way, not a red Jeep or truck. He waited in a car for 2 hours in the cemetery, he claims, and said his dad told him when he got back to the vehicle that was parked in the back of the cemetery, which is the absolute nearest place to access the crime scene, covered in blood, they had a good time. So, why does the word they matter? Says Old Hart. It matters because Keegan Kline told Detective Vito and prosecutor Nick McClelland at the August 18, 2022 meeting at Grissom that his dad said they had a good time before any of us knew anything whatsoever about fucking Richard Allen. The they implies that there was someone else back there at the murder scene. They they had a good time. That's what Keegan Kline told law enforcement. That's some incredibly inflammatory, detailed description of what Keegan Kline told law enforcement. Keep in mind, Keegan implicated himself in the murders of Abby and Libby on August 18, 2022. This is before the arrest of Richard Allen. The first question McClelland is going to ask, or Vito, or anyone is going to ask Keegan Kline is, who is they? Who is they? Keegan Kline made the statement to ISP Detective Vito and prosecutor Nick McClelland that he and his dad drove to the old Delphi cemetery on February 13, 2017. Let's unpack that statement. That was made on August 18, 2022, at the meeting held at Grissom Air Force Base, Miami Correctional Facility in Miami County. First off, why that location? Why Grissom? Don't believe what they tell you. Think critically. Why that location for the meeting between Vito, McClelland, and one of the suspects in the murders of Abby and Libby? The author knows for a fact that the media was camped out at the Miami County Jail parking lot shortly after the murder shits released their tip about someone at the Canal Street address looking up the Delphi Marathon gas station. They also released the tip about someone using that Comcast IP address at that Canal Street address while logging in and out of the Snapchat app on two separate devices. Law enforcement knew someone looked up that gas station less than a mile from Richard Allen's house, less than half a mile from Riley Park. They were switching their Snapchat app from one device to another. We also know now for a fact that someone using that Comcast IS IP IP address was the last person to communicate with Libby the day she and Abby were murdered. Remember, Holman said Anthony Schatz lured the girls out there that day. Keegan Kline insinuated that it was his neighbor. That he insinuated it was his dad. Question. Who was the other user or users of the Anthony underscore Schatz account? You see, just because someone lies about some things, don't mean they lie about everything. So it's safe to assume Kelsey's talking to the Anthony Schatz account. Liberty's talking to the Anthony Schatz account. Abby's talking to the Anthony Schatz account. Kyla Brummett is talking to the Anthony Schatz account. The Anthony Schatz account lures the girls out to their resting place, to their deaths. Keegan Kline says they had a good time. Once again, sorry. Detective David Vito testified that Keegan was communicating with Liberty German and the Anthony Schatz account was communicating with Liberty German. He further testified that Keegan Kline admitted driving to Delphi with his father, Jerry Kline, on February 13th, 2017, and that he waited in the vehicle. He testified that when Keegan Kline stated when Tony Kline returned to the vehicle, he had blood on him. Further, Roland Purdy testified that Keegan Kline admitted that they discarded a knife in a river when they were driving home. Keegan Kline was tied to Ron Logan. Tony Kline was tied to Ron Logan. Kathy Shanks was tied to Ron Logan. Nick McClellan was tied to Ron Logan. Garrett Kurtz was tied to Ron Logan. Snowburger Kids tied to Ron Logan. Brad Holder tied to Ron Logan. Benjamin Mears tied to Ron Logan? How many Vinlanders were tied to Ron Logan? I've already said, if you've listened to my You Gotta Be Kidding Me with the effing Ron Logan show, which was just 4 days ago, I said, I don't think Ron Logan's a killer. I think he's the nexus. Think about it. He's the old guy. He's the property owner. He's the connection to the state, the prosecutor's office, the unified command, the victims' families, the potential third party suspects themselves. One thing we know for sure, there was a Dropbox. There were other users. Keegan was selling burner phones filled with CSAM, and Ron Logan was one of them, one of the users. And the Anthony Shots accounts, many of them were used by multiple users, and the victim's family member, Kelsey, and Kyla Brummett, who's also one of the witnesses, was communicating with those individuals behind the Anthony Shots account. Anthony. Who is Anthony? Again, this is from an email from a friend of mine. He makes some good points. You got a male cop's modeling photo being used to catfish up all these accounts. And what are the odds that Kathy Shank is the one herself directly tied to Ron Logan who finds Richard Allen? You see, back to Ricci Davis. Again, whoops. Is that the right? What am I doing here? It's just not page 7, page 2. Ricci Davis is talking to Ron Logan, to Keegan Klein, he starts making connections between both of their stories. Okay, remember, Ron Logan was talking about this with several people. Keegan Kline was telling this story to several people. Remember, he told the boyfriend, he told the girlfriends, he told the cellmates, he told Noe, he told Murder Sheet, he told Vito, he told McClellan, he told Ricci Davis. And now he's relieved that Richard Allen is convicted because he won't be a viable suspect anymore. You see, I've said so many times, Ron Logan harbored criminals. And think about this. Have you forgotten about Megan Allen and her entire story about what happened the 12 hours before these girls disappeared? So, what was going on between the High Bridge, the Mears barn, Ron Logan's yard, Wilson Bridge, the butcher shop, what this entire area? What was going on? It's why I always suggest to you to go and visit and walk the grounds, because you will begin to understand that if Ron Logan allowed all of this, these two little girls end up dead in the midst of it. So Ricci Davis was in a privileged position. You see, something about Keegan's story that's interesting. Although he may be a liar at times, that story has never changed. Can't say that for Kelsey. Can't say it for Bree. Can't say it for Cheyenne or Daniel Pearson or Shelby or Brad Holder. Whole lot of fucking stories have changed. Keegan's story ain't changed. I think that if Ricci Davis is writing 7 or 8 letters, do you think that story's gonna change if he's telling the truth or if he's lying. So maybe we get our eyes on those 7 or 8 letters and let's see, is there some consistency between Mr. Baldwin's interview, between the recorded interview, between the 7 or 8 letters? Is it going to be consistent? Because so far, it's feeling pretty consistent. Like I said, I don't think he knows the full story. He knows what he was told. It's the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. He's got his eyes on the tip of the iceberg. Now, just imagine what's below the surface of that. So, the Brady Bunch. Remember, law enforcement had a recorded interview of Ricci Davis years ago. You've got thousands of tips, thousands of tips. Uh, Here's your wake up call. Some of those tips tell the truth. And now you've got, apparently, 8 more letters. Did this prosecutor knowingly hide, obscure, withhold, destroy this information? I think it's highly likely. We know shenanigans have taken place. Again, like I said, there's the unknown unknowns. We don't know what was the content of the deleted interviews. All the deleted discovery. You don't know what you don't know. I said it once, I'll say it again. Well, I've actually said it hundreds of times. And Reese said it perfectly. And I want to put that back up on the screen. It's a cover up of cover ups. And you all have known it from day one. That's why you follow the case. You know it's a cover up. Who's being protected? Let me put that back up. Oh, let me move Frenchie. All right, there you go. I'm not asking to be believed. I'm asking for people to ask questions, follow the evidence, and let them poor victims have justice, as well as a jury settle Richard Allen's jury with all the facts, not distorted by a DA covering up cover ups. This is what McClellan did not want heard. My only question is, McClellan, can you sleep at night? But can you really, though? Pray for them girls and families. Free the innocent. Seek the guilty. And stand for true justice for all, good and bad. And I think that's about sums it up perfectly, ladies and gentlemen. This will go down in history as the most scandalous conspiracy that we've known. Mark my words. So, God bless you all. Thank you, Mark Ellis, for the super chat. Thank you, Mark Ellis. God bless you all. Truth and justice for all, and for those poor little girls. Their time is limited. The clock is ticking, and they know it. It's why I used to taunt years ago TikTok. And I mean it. TikTok. It's only a matter of time. So, the Brady Bunch, or at a minimum, as someone in the chat has said, uh, Giglio. So, thank you all for being here. Um, I hope this will serve as a resource for you. If you want to get your head quickly around all of the various withholding of potentially exculpatory material evidence, hopefully this will be useful to you so that you can quickly, and by quickly, I mean the matter of 3 hours, refresh yourself as to some of the potential Brady or Giglio violations here, because it's really concerning. And a special shout out to Andy Baldwin for the really nice discussion or interview last night, and Burkhart for the interesting comments regarding this. And also special shout out to my supporters here, Mark Ellis and K Special, and my mods, the amazing mods here, Kayla, Heather Brown, and my most special mod of all in my heart, Amy, with the flowers. Anyway, thank you all for being here. I'm going to go and hug little prof now. Shout out to Mino Dino, Deputy Dog, Jay, Carla Ann, Teresa, Five Green Acres, Sweet Dude Shibby, Big JD 420, Possum Friend, Barbara Borman. Did I say Deputy Dog? Okay, CG and Mike, Miss K, Plain Iron, Teresa, Five Green Acres, Rolo Mata, what's up? Sunflower Soul, aka Radar, another love of my life. What's up, Radar? Rambo Bambo, Bill, Chevy Killer 306, what's up, brother? Jim Chrisman, what's up? Um, who else we got here? Don't be making my chat glitch. Okay, let's see. Andre, what's up? Another love of my life. What's up, Andre? Um, Tracy Fleetwood, Pert Innit, ACV, Brother from Another Mother. All right. Who else we got in here? It's rather late. Ninja, Warrior, Assassin, Carla Ann, Lisa. All right. Hello, 11. Who's your daddy, 11? French, 6290. Sarah, Keith. Or if you were my best bud, I'd call you Keith. Brad Peters. All right. And I've gone back a ways. I don't see any other new names. So everyone who else has been here, thank you very much for being here, especially for joining the live chat. Oh, what's up, Judy Hadaway and Sunflower Soul. Okay, and another thing. Oh, Auntie K723. Thank you very much for the really nice comment. Oleg Cat, what's up? And for all of you on the replay, let me do my advertisement and promotional here. For all of you on the replay, hey, Niobe, what's up, Niobe? Everyone on the replay, please do leave a comment down below. Appreciate the comments. It's really nice to have them. Even if you missed the live stream, at least you can participate in the conversation down below. And please understand, we have support pathways. We have amazing support pathways, like the Cash App that's tagged here at the top of the chat and on the channel. We have the Cash App. The Cash App is called Coffee for Prof. And we also have Buy Me a Coffee and the Super Chats and all the hitting the likes and all the things that you can do to support the channel. We appreciate that. Oh, thank you, Auntie K. And there's Auntie K supporting the channel. Thank you. Jay Lynn, thank you for being here. Anyhow, all of you who are here, we so appreciate you for being here. We'll have another one soon. I might let this one linger a day or two because I think everyone needs to watch this one. This will be a pretty important one. So I might not do a show tomorrow to force people to watch the replay of this one because I think this one has very concerning information that everyone needs to catch. But we will do another one soon, and I am working on some things. But everything in due time. So God bless you all. Hey, Gretchen Allen, thanks for being here. Miss K, Niobe. Yeah, I see you guys. But thank you for being here. What's up, Shotgun Susie? Big JD, don't stop emailing me. Why you stop emailing me? I love you too, Radar. All right. Anyhow, and hey, it is my birthday week. So it's going to be my birthday week. We'll talk about that on the next show. Okay. But God bless you all. And special shout out to all the February birthdays, Aquarians in the house, right? So God bless everyone. Hug your kids, hug your wife. And we'll catch you later. All right. Shout out, especially big shout out to Christine. I know I didn't say hi. You're out of here. Or I don't know, you passed out. But Christine, what's up, Christine, as well? And Aaron Town, I see you. There you go. All right. So God bless you all, and good night. And hey, God bless Abby and Libby. We'll keep checking on this. And every development is more and more interesting. The heat's turning up in Delphi, and I love it. Okay, so God bless.